Computer. All right, and welcome to the third edition of the 2021 team previews for those of us who don't have postseason hopes and dreams. Cole Seltzer of the Milwaukee Brewers, welcome, man. I appreciate you making some time to run through your team's future with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. It's good to be able to discuss this and let everyone see my face for the first time.
Yeah, that's true. We've heard your voice following the infamous Houston trade. You guys did a couple of breakdowns after that, but we haven't seen you, so I appreciate the willingness to jump on video. Let's talk about the 2020 Brewers real quick before we low into the future. You guys sit in third place in what could be argued to be the second worst division in baseball, right behind my home National League East, which is just the Mets and a bunch of kids. You know, how do you feel about where you guys are right now? Is this where you thought you'd be at the end of the season?
Yeah, my goal coming into the year was to be right at 70 wins. So we're sitting at like 68 right now, which means we're on track. It's been rough. It was a rough start to the season for sure. But I knew that going in with the players I had. I kind of had, with some injuries, had to call up some of my pitchers, my young pitchers, a little earlier than I wanted to. But I believe they've come in and stepped in. And since the All-Star break, I'm 9 games over 500. So I think bringing those guys in and the young help in has helped, vault my team in the direction that we're looking to go.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was that good after the All-Star break. I knew that the Brewers have been playing better as of late, but that's actually pretty impressive with the squad you've got right now. Some of the young guys you mentioned that I was looking at, Yee playing third base, I think, has hit the ball very well for a young guy. Carlos Martinez has finally gotten his shot and has not embarrassed himself. The guy I really was impressed with was Pedro Cuevas, has come up and been very good for you in the rotation, I believe. Is he one of those guys you mentioned you weren't planning on calling up, but you had to, or how did that call up go this year?
Yeah, he was going to come up at some point this year. That was kind of my goal, was to at least get his feet wet this season. That was probably more September was when I was looking, but with some of the trades, a trade came up, and just with everything, and I called McCuck up earlier, and then he gets hurt. So it was like, well, that's, I had to replace him. But yeah, Davis has been phenomenal for me coming up. It's awesome to see him step right in and be able to do that. So he's been good. I've had McCuck come up. He's been a little shaky, to start. Landoni's been what I've expected of him. He's going to get moved to the bullpen next year. And then the one that's really surprised me is Keegan Thompson. Come up and been a huge part of the back end of my bullpen.
Yeah, there's a lot of names there that I kind of glanced over. I forgot about McCuck, which is probably one of the harder names to say. My voice wants to continue to say McCutcheon, but I will work on that. But you do have a very interesting young stable of arms there, which would be fun to see heading into 2021. So let's talk about 2021, right? Projections. You said you wanted 70 wins this year. It looks like you'll be a couple over it unless something goes horribly wrong here in the last couple of weeks. What's the expectation and what's the stretch goal for 2021 for wins?
The expectations to be above 500. I would expect 83, 84 wins is kind of where I sit. The offense, I think, still has some holes that I need to really look into to really be a threat. But I think stretch goal would be getting wild card spot number 2 next year, being in the 88 win range, and seeing the playoffs.
Yeah, that seems feasible, honestly. I mean, you have to figure the Cardinals are going to do the same bullshit they do every year, where they start slow, they get undersold, they finish strong, they win the division. The Pirates, while they've played above expectations this year, I maintain that they are not ready to compete yet. I think they've just played very good baseball this year. I don't know that they'll be coming back next year with another 87, 88 win season. So I think that's there for the taking, depending on what Delirium and the Reds do, right? So that's very interesting. I'd like to see the Brewers make a run for that position. If let's say you get 82 wins, 82 wins is the expectation, 82, 83. Where does that put you in the division? What's your place there?
I think second.
Second place.
I'm with you on the fact that I think the Pirates have just very much overachieved this season. Looking at, do have a really great farm system, but a lot of their talent is still at the lower levels. So there's not a lot, like, unless they make a big free agent splash, there's not like not a lot of room for growth from this year. And I think this season was just a little bit of an overperforming, and with us three teams at the bottom of the division, like, it's really easy to rack up wins when the bottom of the divisions is that bad. I'm like, St. Louis, we're going to do what St. Louis does and win the division. I don't think we compete with them. So St. Louis 1, us 2, Pittsburgh 3, and then I want to say the Cubs 4, and then it's 5 next year.
Okay, I can see that. And I think that flips. And I think that depends heavily on what the Pirates decide to do, because I would be more surprised if they bought than if they sold in the offseason. I think a couple of these outfielders that have had breakout years get sold off to Toronto, to Boston, to New York, somewhere like that, to add a couple pieces, because you're right, they've got very good talent, but their middle infield guys they got from the Braves when they traded a couple arms are AA at best, heading to AAA next year. So I think they got a little bit of time. So that'll be interesting. So you gave me the breakdown. That's awesome. For the Brewers, obviously it's almost impossible to predict, hey, I'm going to go out and get X player, but what kind of people will you have your eyes out for in the off season to look at for a place to add pieces that can get you to 82 or possibly higher?
Yeah, a big part of it's offense for me. I believe I'm going to have a super young pitching staff, but I think it's going to be one of the best in the league next year. It's that offense I need in finding, especially an outfielder. That's where I'm looking to really upgrade, is to find someone who can a big bat, maybe hit a ton of home runs for me, because that's just, like, Lowry does great with his 25. Like, there's just no one in that lineup that just, like, really scares you with power. So finding someone in an outfield position that can, bring some pop for me, and really that middle of the order guy who puts some fear in the other team.
Yeah, that'd be a good addition. And the best part about that is it's not the hardest thing to find. Corner outfielders with power in this league are almost a dime a dozen. I say that without any in my lineup, so I guess that's something I should look at of myself. But, they're definitely available, and there's people that will sell them at a decent rate as opposed to trying to drive up the price. So that would be a good thing to look out for. Anybody internally you think that comes up and fills the need? I don't think there's a power bat there, but there's definitely some interesting guys that can come up and play a role for you, it looks like. Who do you have your eye on from the farm system? Offensively, we can get to pitching in a second.
Yeah. Offensively, the two guys I've looked at are George Gonzalez at third base, and Evan White at first base. Both of them are at AAA this year. George hit home runs for us, and I think 12 home runs for New York at the AAA level. So there is some power there. He's going to be that typical third base. He's more that typical third baseman, not like Yee, not the fast little runner that Yee is. But if we can work, like, Yee's one of the guys who we're looking to maybe switch positions or add a second position to his ability, just to kind of make some flexibility with the lineup. So if he can improve at a different position, Gonzalez would be a guy who would make quite a few starts for me. And then Evan White's the other one, because McCormick does have some outfield flexibility. He can play left field. He can play center field. He's best at first base, but if I can bring up Evan White, he can bring some power and some contact ability to the lineup, then, that's something we have to look at.
Yeah, I like that. I didn't realize that Lowry was not playing third base. Is he at second?
Yes.
Okay, so that makes more sense. As soon as you said a third baseman, I immediately went to where the hell's Lowry going to go? But it makes sense for you to try to switch it to like a utility player. Maybe you can kind of bounce around to give you that piece. That's good. Was there – this may not be something you can answer openly, but was there a player Were there talks for the Brewers at the deadline to bring in this kind of player this year to see like what the waters was, or was it something you just focused on getting future pieces and then hold off on the acquisition of like a major league bat to next year?
No, this was not something that I had ever discussed at the deadline. Honestly, at the deadline, I was not thinking of this move. Like, this was not something that,
Got it.
not where my thought process was. I had my ideas was kind of looking at the bullpen and, getting a couple pieces there with Arias and Hicks, to solidify that and to really solidify the pitching side. That was kind of my focus at that point. So it's been something as I've more dove into looking at next year's roster and really looking at what each player is going to bring. That's an area where I think that is the big hole. That is in our lineup.
Got it. Okay. And who is in the lineup right now that is in the greatest danger of losing their spot?
Greatest danger of losing their spot.
There's a couple guys out there that are hitting sub 250 that I had my eye on, like from my side of things, but I'd be interested to see if there's anybody you were looking at an upgrade for.
So the two, Tim Hampton is coming over with Colorado. He's just not doing enough. Him and Bryce Stevens. Like Bryce Stevens he's great defensively, but just offensively, there's nothing there. There's not much there. So, like both those guys, right now sit as they would start in AAA next season for me.
Yeah. What's the expectation for a guy like Juan Sanchez, who I think is a realistically a very good player for this in this league for a long time at 22?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's hitting 270-ish right now. Like, do you see him becoming a perennial all-star? Is this about where you want him at 270, kind of, a good but not spectacular player? What's the expectation for him?
So the hope is that as with Yee and Martinez and maybe bringing in another bat, bringing in some protection from him, because I do feel like he's like him and Lowry are the two guys in the lineup that everyone looks at and is like, oh, well, we don't want to, like, those are not the guys to pitch to.
Yeah.
So I feel like bringing in extra guys and extra protection will help boost him. I want him to be a 290, 300 hitter. I think his home run numbers are fine. I don't expect him to hit for tons and tons of home runs, but I think being able to bring in other guys to the lineup can help boost his game a little bit because he's not the only one doing the work.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's only 22. He is young, right? He plays good defense. I see some big things for him in Milwaukee long term. Let's talk about the rotation, right? You've mentioned specifically, you kind of seem like you've got it in place. You've got your young guys that you had to call up a little early. What's it look like 1 to 5 next year? And is there anything missing from the rotation currently?
The next year, 1 to 5 will be Davis 1, McCuck 2, Millar will come up. He's going to start the season up next year. He's proven himself at AAA this year. He'll be my 3. And I'm going to go Solano as my 4. Like, he's been consistent all season. He's pitching to like a 3.5 right now with 14 wins. Like, he's earned himself a spot in the rotation. And then I'm going to go Forrest Whitley as my 5. He's every stop this year. We've started in high A, great, went to double A, great, has come up to triple A, and is still doing great. Like, we're not going to stop the momentum. Like, if he's going to continue to keep pitching like this, like, he's earned a spot.
Yeah, I love it. 2 names I did not hear: Adrian Castillo and Ben Landoni. Where are they going?
Castillo will go back down to AAA. He just every time we try to put him in, he's pitching to over a 5 ERA. Like,
yeah,
it's just hard to keep him in the lineup, especially with these young guys, coming up. Like, he's just not going to get a spot. And then Landoni will probably switch down to middle relief with some high leverage stuff in the bullpen.
Okay. I think I tend to agree with your assessment earlier. That is a very exciting pitching staff. It's young as hell. So you're going to have to expect some ups and downs, probably why you're looking at that 82-win season, because if all those guys are at full potential, I think you're right. You are looking at a top-tier pitching staff that can carry even a subpar offense further than that. But I think if you get them all the experience this year, get the 82 wins, add the bat you're looking for, 2022 looks like a hell of a season for the Brewers, right about when Clayton Kershaw is retiring and, some of the other guys are leaving the Cardinals roster. So that's good. We've talked about additions. We talked about subtractions there. The bullpen is so difficult to predict. It sounds like you have a better picture of yours than most. Who are going to be the 2021 spring invitees to watch?
Spring invitees. So Corbin Feltman and Nick McDermott. Those are the two guys that definitely have a very realistic chance of making the bullpen next year. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how they perform against the high leverage situations during spring training. Offensively, the one that's going to surprise is Rutherford.
Okay.
He's with 65 contact and the power ability he has. It'll be interesting to kind of see how he does. He hasn't really gotten much playing time at the AAA level this year, being a late addition there. But he's definitely a guy that if he does well to start and he does well in spring training, he could definitely get a call up to just to start in the season.
What about a guy like Alonso Carvajal? I haven't heard his name mentioned yet. He was a big piece of that trade with Houston a couple of years ago. In AAA now, he's 25 years old. I realize he's struggling, but does he get a chance to prove himself in the big league club in spring, or is he still got to prove it in AAA?
No, he'll get a chance to prove himself there. It's just hard he's going to have a hard time finding a spot in the lineup. We have Brett Lowry, who has to be in the lineup every day. He's, our best offensive player. Carlos Martinez is way better defensively than he is than Carvajal is at shortstop. So, it's just we also have Miklat, who is going to kind of be our floater in the infield next year and fill in where he needs to. So, it's just not really a position for him at the major league level. So it's going to be tough for him to prove himself and really beat someone out.
Yeah. There's a couple guys on here that I see from that, like Mickey Moniak, Alonso Carvajal, some of these names that I'm recognizing from those trades that they've gotten to this point that they're not ready to take a shot yet. Somebody I have my eye on for 2022. I think he'll get a call up in the spring, but I don't know if he gets the thing is Bill Weaver. I don't think he I don't know. I'd be surprised if he gets into spring this year, but he's a guy that I'm really excited about long term for the Brewers as a defensive wizard there in the middle. From a totally uneducated perspective, I would be interested to see what happens if a package of Moniak, Carvajal, and maybe somebody like Michael Favre, what kind of bat that could bring back to your outfield, any combination of those guys. So from a league-wide look at some of those guys if you want to sell the Brewers a bat, because I didn't hear their name in the 2021 plans. Who is your 2021 Rookie of the Year for your team, not for the league?
Miller. I think Miller will come up and have a great season. I think he'll end up he'll be our number 2 pitcher, our number 2 starter this year. I think Cuevas will. I don't know if Cuevas is eligible after this season for how early he's called up. I'm not really sure. I'm how that works. I'm if he is eligible, I'd say him, but I'm just assuming he won't be. So I'm saying Miller we'll end up winning that award. Okay.
Who's the Cy Young then?
Cuevas. Cuevas is going to – I feel like he's going to come in and pitch to a low 3 ERA, come in, have 15 wins next year, and just have a very solid ace for us.
Good. So Rookie of the Year is a pitcher. Cy Young is obviously a pitcher. Who's the MVP?
I think Carlos Martinez will win it. I think he's going to come in and play a fantastic shortstop. I think he's going to come hit 250-ish with 25 to 30 home runs and really be a middle-of-the-order guy.
Yeah. You can get that kind of offensive production out of a defensive shortstop. That'd be spectacular. I was chasing him for a long time because I thought he could do exactly that. And it'd be great to see him do that in 2021. Okay, we are done with the Brewers. I have some questions about World Series predictions here, but anything else about your team this year, next year that you need that we need to know about before we get into the World Series prediction?
Just my warning to the whole league is be afraid of the pitching staff.
Okay, I agree. Be afraid of the pitching staff. I think any night you got a guy that can go 7 or 8 strong innings and give you a chance to win. So I agree. 2020, who is winning the World Series?
It's tough. I want to go Seattle, though. I think Seattle can do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I hate to say it. I was hoping all the National League guys would go National League with the Mets or the Diamondbacks, but his team's just so stacked. It's scary. All right. Well, cool, man. I really appreciate it. That is the end of our Brewers breakdown. Thank you for joining it. Have fun the rest of the day at work. And I will see you around, man.
Thank you for having me on here. Thank you for, doing this stuff.
Anytime, bud. See ya.
Bye.